You're on the phone with your girlfriend, she's upset. She's going off about something that you said, 'cause she doesn't get your humor like I do. I'm in the room, it's a typical Tuesday night. I'm listening to the kind of music she doesn't like, and she'll never know your story like I do. But she wears short skirts, I wear t-shirts. She's cheer captain and I'm on the bleachers, dreaming about the day when you wake up and find that what you're looking for has been here the whole time. If you could see that I'm the one who understands you, been here all along, so why can't you see you belong with me? You belong with me. Walking the streets with you in your worn out jeans, I can't help thinking this is how it ought to be. Laughing on a park bench, thinking to myself, hey, isn't this easy? And you've got a smile that could light up this whole town. I haven't seen it in a while since she brought you down. You say you're fine, I know you better than that. Hey, what you doing with a girl like that? She wears high heels, I wear sneakers. She's cheer captain and I'm on the bleachers, dreaming about the day when you wake up and find that what you're looking for has been here the whole time. If you could see that I'm the one who understands you, been here all along, so why can't you see you belong with me? Standing by you, waiting at your back door all this time. How could you not know, baby? You belong with me. You belong with me. Oh, I remember you driving to my house in the middle of the night. I'm the one who makes you laugh when you know you're about to cry. I know your favorite songs.
I finally got to do it. I finally got to play some Taylor Swift, which I've been wanting to do, but I was like, I wouldn't, cement you guys to that torture, but, I guess I'm exposing myself. I'm not okay, I love Taylor Swift's voice and her music, not so much as a person, but, but yeah, that's the end of the stream. I just wanted to make you guys listen to Taylor Swift, and I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. But hi, JC, how are you? First live I've made in a while, and you play this. Hey, sometimes you guys don't get what you want. Put some hard rock on, Grease. Well, you see, here's the problem. You guys get so tailored to, I like the music I usually play before streams, but it's not like my favorite. It's not my go-to. It's more like, I know stream will like it. So I had to, cater to the newer generation, and maybe even the female audience, because we don't give the female audience enough love. They got to get their Taylor Swift at some point. Even if you're a woman and you don't like Taylor Swift, well, you're making me look bad. But, but yeah. Hope everybody's doing well as always. Matthew, everybody, the usual suspects. Hi, Cannibal. And it is going good. Football season is almost here. I'm excited about that. But yeah. What if Blood and Cheese failed? You know what's crazy? Blood and Cheese failing, I don't really think would change all that much. Like, in terms of the book, like Helene, well, this is, okay, a lot of spoilers. But, okay, let me put it this way. I think that the results of the dance would still be relatively the same, outside of you would have maybe a couple more people alive or being used as, this should be the person on the throne or whatever. Like, I think Blood and Cheese was something that pushed the event into, there was no peace talk coming, but I think that was already going to happen anyway. So, guys, let me know, do you want me to discuss the House of the Dragon Season 3 spoilers? If not, I won't talk about it, or leaks, I should say. It's not like we know what's going to happen in the episode. It's just what we're seeing through photos that have been taken from on set, certain things of that nature. Let me know if you guys want me to talk about it. If you do, I'll put a spoiler warning, that kind of stuff. You know, try not to listen to this if you don't want leaks. But yeah, glad notifications worked. Also, I feel bad about this. So, Sydney, how do you pronounce your name again? I know you told me before, I don't remember. Is it like Sydney, Australia, or like Cindy? Let me know. Greece is under the impression Taylor is Millie Alcock. That is not my impression, but, you know, I guess we'll throw in there Millie Alcock, attractive lady. So yeah, there have been some leaks about Daeron. I'm seeing a lot of people want me to talk about it, so I'll throw this out there right now. If you do not want to have any spoilers, any leaks, anything for House of the Dragon Season 3, you want to go in blind, I would very much click off at this point, or at least maybe come back later. But there have been some leaks. Let me catch up on chat, and then we'll kind of dive into it. What is the XP thing? How does the XP thing work? So, from my knowledge, it resets every single stream, which I find weird. I think it would be better if it just stayed from stream to stream. In my opinion, it's YouTube trying to get people to interact with streams more, to try and be like the top fan. You get stuff through super chats, members, how much you chat, all that kind of stuff, and then you get some like ranking thing. But I think it's interesting. I like that YouTube's trying to innovate. I think it's cool. They usually don't give a lot of attention to streaming, so I think it's nice. I don't know who that is. So Cindy, you're gonna have to give me like a breakdown. I don't even know who that is. I'm trying my best, but for people that have been on this channel for a long time, they know I'm not good with names. I don't pronounce names well, so. I say talk about it. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody say not talk about it, so I think we're going to talk about it. So I guess we'll open up. Again, if you guys have some questions about anything else besides House of the Dragon, whether it's the Aegon Conquest show, because there actually has been news about that as well. Not actually 100% sure if it's show or movie, but I'm assuming show based on how HBO does things. But if you have any of those questions, if you have a Song of Ice and Fire questions, feel free to drop them down. But let's talk about the House of the Dragon Season 3 news. So there have been some set photos. This is confirmed stuff that we've seen. Now, whether it's they're filming fake stuff or the context we just don't have, regardless of that, what we've seen through leaks is that there's been some sort of interaction between Daemon Targaryen and the Reach faction in the south, the Hightower army there with Ormond Hightower, and then also Daeron Targaryen, who yet has not been in the show really. He's been name dropped in season 2, albeit very briefly. I think a lot of the community thought maybe he was cut for a good amount of time. What we saw in the leak was more or less Daemon, it seemed like, having victory over the Hightowers, or to some extent negotiating with them. Ormond Hightower then basically taking a knee in front of Daemon, offering his sword, kind of like, one of these pledges type ideas. And then also Daeron being handed over to Daemon. There's been a little bit of speculation on what that actually means. It's looked like maybe he's tied up, like he's a prisoner of war, more maybe like a ward thing to, like, for instance, Theon to Ned. Very unclear. But either way, what we've seen in House of the Dragon Season 3 seems to be continuing on the trend of going further away from the book, which does not necessarily mean a bad thing right away. It just means they're continuing to make major changes. And it really just matters how they implement those changes. Because in the book, Daemon is very much not part of the war in the South at all. He's a massive part of the events. Again, massive spoilers for House of the Dragon Season 3. This all could be changed anyway, but still massive spoilers for big events in the season. But Daemon is pretty influential in terms of taking King's Landing and then trying to deal with the threat of Aemond. Daemon is not really a factor at all in the South. And so a lot of people have made the connection that maybe they're going a different route, that instead of how it was in Fire and Blood, where it's much more of a nuanced conflict with multiple different factions going on within the book, the show is going to kind of dumb it down, where it's a lot more, the green side of things is really just Aemond. And then you have everybody against him, where you would eliminate this Daeron faction and maybe have it go under Daemon and the Targaryens for the black side of things, at least for now anyway. It's left very unclear. So that's kind of where we're at with the leak. That's the major thing that's come out. We do have a Daeron casting. The casting looks fantastic, by the way. The actor playing Daeron, I don't remember the name specifically, but just from the look, looks like a younger Targaryen. Fits perfectly. Casting for House of the Dragon seems to be fantastic as usual. But there's a lot of interesting things there, because if they're changing Daemon's plotline, it just seems weird to me to do so, because that just was never like even a part of Fire and Blood. It gives me a lot of like season 5 vibes of Game of Thrones, where things just are completely different. Like, for instance, the Dorne plot from book to show is completely different in terms of the execution. It kind of feels the same here. And again, we can't really speculate too much if it's going to be a good or a bad thing. But again, given, House of the Dragon Season 2, the way that season finished, the sloppy, bad writing, and people like to make the excuse of the writing strike, all that stuff, it doesn't necessarily surprise me that we're getting further away. And again, George R. R. Martin foreshadowed this, butterflies and how those things will affect as we get further into House of the Dragon. We'll see if those bloom. We'll see how this change works out. I think Red Team Review on X or Twitter put it quite perfectly. It's a change. That's all we know right now. We can speculate what it means, but we don't know if it's good or bad yet. A change doesn't necessarily mean something's bad instantly, unless it's something just blatantly, obviously bad. Like, for instance, if we had gotten, say, the leak of Alicent and Rhaenyra meeting in episode 3, I would have told you right away, before even seeing the show, that was a terrible change. Kind of the same way of like episode 8 came out. I'd already known everything that was going to happen in episode 8 and was kind of trying to cope. If you go back to my preview stream for House of the Dragon season 2 episode 8, there was a lot of negative feeling there with me trying to say, okay, maybe it's going to be implemented better than I think it will be. We'll have to see. I don't have a ton of faith for House of the Dragon season 3. I've talked about that on this channel a lot. I'm hoping, my expectation is hopefully that the show is entertaining and can be a fun watch. I'm not really expecting it to have deep writing or any of those things, but that's kind of the news of House of the Dragon right now. There have been like stills that have come out about the Velaryons after the Battle of the Gullet. But again, for the most part, that's our news as of right now in House of the Dragon. I'd love to hear guys' thoughts on what you guys think about the leak as of right now. Let me go back up. Sin D. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Don't really care about Aegon's Conquest. It's going to get ruined somehow anyway. Yeah, the one thing I wonder about for Aegon's Conquest is if we're going to make it a show, and I think that's what's been right now talked about, is it being a show. I wonder like how much budget the show's going to have. Because there's a lot of CGI, a lot of big action set pieces that you're going to need for Aegon the Conquest show. Again, his story is about a war. Like, yes, there is politicking in it, but it's for the most part a war story. Like, if you think about, if we're going to do Aegon's Conquest in 6 to 10 episodes, every episode, outside of maybe the first one, would have a major battle in it. You think about, the stuff going on in the Vale with Visenya. You think about the stuff going on with Rhaenys and the Stormlands. You think about Aegon taking on, Black Heron and going to Harrenhal and the Riverlands, all that stuff. There's like almost a battle or a major event in every single episode you think about, and things that are happening at the same time. And so Aegon's Conquest is a weird event to try and build a show on, because it doesn't have the same pacing or layering that, say, a House of the Dragon has, or like a Game of Thrones has. It's not as like build up to big battle or big moment and then we finish the season. It's not like that. The whole season is battles, the whole everything. And I guess you could delay that. You could have some of the background knowledge of Aegon and the conquest of him preparing to go to war and, delving into Aegon's dream and all that stuff. And I wonder about it, because I do think that, similar to Dunk and Egg, I think that Aegon's Conquest, if we're just doing the Conquest, would be way better as a movie. I think pacing-wise, it would be better. I really worry about it being a show, and we're unclear on that. We do know that likely there has been a script that has been sent in for Aegon's Conquest. Don't know any details about it. Don't know if it's necessarily actually been, how should I say this, put in, I guess. And based on that information, it came from Twitter and X again, of course. The writer made a lot of like suggestive tweets, I'll say, towards the idea that the script is finished. So we'll just see how that goes right now. Again, very similar to Dunk and Egg. Very little information on the Aegon Conquest stuff, but anything we can get as of right now with the Song of Ice and Fire and the community, I think is news, because we just haven't had much really going for us really the entire year. It's been pretty much all negative and or just meh. So I think for me, I would be really happy to see the Aegon Conquest show or movie. I really would love to see the characters of Visenya and Aegon specifically, even, Oris and Rhaenys as well, and some of the other antagonists like Black Heron, all that. But we'll just have to see. Very little information on it right now, but it would be cool to have more Game of Thrones content or Song of Ice and Fire content. Again, I don't really expect the Aegon the Conquest stuff to really start coming out until, around when House of the Dragon is starting to finish. Because, again, you don't want to have too much content for Song of Ice and Fire and oversaturate the market, kind of what Star Wars did, the Marvel did. Same idea. Also, hi, Maz, how are you? Much rather have the Sons of the Dragons as a series. Yeah, and I think that the Sons of the Dragons, and if you don't know what that means, it means more like Maegor and Aenys, the sons of Aegon. I think that fits what House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones would do better, because you have a natural progression of hostilities between the Visenya Maegor camp and the Aenys, side of things. You have that natural progression as you're seeing the war start to get, or not the war, you're starting to see the realm get into more chaos, more war, things of that nature, until then Aenys would die towards the end of season 1. You have that natural progression that would feel very similar to past shows in their first season. So yeah, I do think that there's much more wiggle room. There's much more I think you can do with something like that. And even the Aegon the Conquest show, I'd be more interested in the first Dornish Conquest more than I would Aegon's Conquest if we're doing a show, just because the Dornish Conquest fits much more thematically as like a one-off, just one season worth of a Dornish Conquest. I think that'd be really cool. But then I agree 100% with Ghost. I think that Aegon the Conquest would be a good foundation to test the waters, to see if people are interested in this story and the characters we could get during the time period, so that you have a movie with Aegon the Conquest or Aegon the Conqueror, and then you go into other projects based on the information that, or not the information, based on the reception of that. The Reach faction was the Green's lifeline in the books. Yes, and Daeron is one of my favorite characters during the dance time period. So I really hope that they don't destroy the character. I don't have huge expectations, but I'd like to see him done well. I wonder if the Daemon Ormond thing is one of the things George was upset about in his blog post. I think George was upset by a lot of things. And I know that we only got to see a small part of it about the blood and cheese stuff and a lot of the early stuff in season 2, Nettles being cut. But when you read that blog post, and we talked about it so much, between me and you, JC, Ricky, we talked about it so much that it seemed like there was more posts to follow. That was not like a one-off post where George was just going to post that. It seemed like there was a lot more. And I think George is probably frustrated with just the direction of the show as a whole. And we talked about this at lengths. Season 2, in a lot of ways, I think lost the essence of what the story was. And, I think that might have just gotten to George, plus in a really bad state. So we'll see. I mean, it could be a dream. Yeah, it goes. That's another thing, right? It could be something where there's a number of reasons you might have a scene like that. One, maybe the Hightowers are trying to trick Daemon somehow. Maybe it is a dream like you suggested. Could be something where we see Aemond at Harrenhal and he's seeing this future, or he's seeing some sort of thing where the rest of the Greens are going to betray him or something. Like, it could definitely be something along those lines. And so that's why I'm not freaking out necessarily, because, well, one, I don't have the same love that I think a lot of people in the community have for House of the Dragon, and I'm glad for you, because I don't have that feeling anymore. Like, I don't have the between House of the Dragon season 1 to season 2 love for the show, where I'm like diving into every little detail. I just don't have that anymore. But yeah, I think we just got to wait and just see what happens. See what they do with it. Not judge it before it actually happens, and just see what they do. But yeah, I mean, Matthew, I was already worried about what they were going to do with some of my favorite moments just based upon season 2. So again, I think it's very justified to have that worry. What do the Greens have left if Daeron surrenders? Aemond, Vhagar, and the Crownlands armor. Yeah, or army, I should say. Yes, and that's, I think, what a lot of people are worried about, is that the show is going to become everybody versus Aemond, and that won't necessarily be the most interesting story. Now, we do know that there's also going to be some betrayals in the black ranks, which I won't necessarily talk about, even though I've already spoiled so much for the show if you just kept watching, even though I had the spoiler warning up like 2 or 3 times. But yeah, I'm expecting a lot of bad fan fiction to have a good laugh at it, knowing it's not canon. You know, I think there's a decent amount of people that have that opinion. I personally hope the show is not bad, because that's just better for the community. It's better for, me. I'd rather enjoy something than hate something, but we'll just have to see. It doesn't make sense for what happens to Rhaenyra in the future if everything is going her way at this point. Yeah, and that's something I think is interesting, because we keep hearing rumors that, for instance, Emma Darcy wants the character to go in a more darker route, seeing how much people will still like her if actions go a certain way. And I like that talk. I want Rhaenyra to be the character of the book, where Rhaenyra is much more morally complex than she is in the show. I want to see the darker side of Rhaenyra that is yet to be there. Season 2 sloppily tried to do it, and it didn't work for me, but we'll see. I think they might be going down the wrong path, in my opinion, for how to make that section of Rhaenyra go, but we'll just have to see. Hi, Ashley. How are you? I mean, Matthew, it's interesting because Ryan Condal made such a big, he made such a big show of, before season 1 came out, that he was a big book fan. He was hand selected by George. And when you see changes like this that are obviously just nowhere near the book, it does make you question things. JC, let me look, because I've heard such little information on it that I've heard both. Let me look. Sorry, it's hard for me to type when I'm trying to lean over my mic to see the keys, because I'm not one of those people that can type without looking at the keys. I've never been able to do that. I really I'm jealous of people that are fast typers. Not me. Aegon's Conquest, is it show or movie? Let's find out. So this is AI, but the AI for Google says it is a planned television series, not a movie. So as of right now, I'm assuming it's a television show based on what AI has told me, because didn't see any other great links to go to. Why introduce Daeron just to have him surrender to Daemon? Is he going to escape in RV to Tumbleton, or are Hugh and Ulf going to conspire and use him to usurp the throne, Arianne and Myrcella? Yeah, it opens up the door to a lot of questions. See, and this is what I don't like, because if they do that route with Daeron, it takes away the Daeron of the book. Daeron in the book is not somebody that is used as a figurehead. He's Daeron the Daring. He's somebody that is a great leader. He's very brave, and I love all those things. All the bad things we talk about with the Green Camp, Daeron is kind of like that outlier. Everything that we hear really in season 2, where Alicent's learning about Daeron, that's kind of how the book is, right? Daeron is like this glimmer of hope for the Targaryens, or at least the green side of things. I don't know how I'll like that. Again, I just have to see how it's done. It's just too much to speculate on this point. Do you believe the rumors that they originally planned to cut Daeron entirely, but had to backtrack after negative reactions from George and fans? Oh, I 100% do. I mean, they might say right now that they didn't plan to cut Daeron, but I mean, Daeron is never mentioned in season 1. He's barely mentioned in season 2, and it almost feels like, even though it's a good scene where, Alicent is asking about Daeron, it feels like it was thrown in there at the last second. Like, that's a scene that I think, like, we're talking about Dunk and Egg and reshoots and stuff. That's a type of scene I could see being like reshot, where you're like, okay, the community is asking a lot about Daron, and we're already not giving them Nettles. Maybe we should throw Daron in there. Even if it's not the Daron of the book, people might not be as aggravated by it. I think Daron was 100% being planned to be cut. There is no indication from what we saw on screen. I don't care what people say. I don't care what Ryan Condal says. Based on what we saw on the show, there is no way Daron was ever supposed to be in the show. Like, Rhaenyra doesn't even seem to know Daron, his name, in the show. So, yeah, I think Daron is an interesting wrinkle to think, because he might not have been in the long-term plans. They saw how Daemon fans were pissed about him being punked by Oscar Tully, so they had to let him get a win over on an adolescent. Maybe. It's so frustrating with Daemon, because Daemon is a character that you shouldn't have to do that to, because he's a character already set up in the book to be one of the most interesting. He is the one that really is the brains behind Rhaenyra's whole war effort. So, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm calling it now. They will portray Aegon as a villain after the Field of Fire and chastise the audience for cheering him on to that point, or up to that point. You know, I think it's an interesting conversation, because in Fire and Blood, Aegon I don't think is evil whatsoever. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think Aegon, in a lot of ways, his actions show that he wanted the least amount of violence to occur, but he also realized he has to sit the throne. Some of it's got to be dealt out. So I think Aegon is not a bad dude. Like, he's very much a stoic, like, he kind of gives me, he's like your main character, your good guy kind of vibes that has, I think issues with his character, right? I think one major thing is, how does he parent his children? I think that's a really great question that maybe we would see in a Meg or an Aenys show. We'll have to see. I think Aegon, if I was going to portray Aegon as a villain, I would do it from the people's point of view. Like Aegon coming over with the dragons and people hearing, rumors of what happens at Harrenhal, and painting Aegon in a different light, that we should fear him more than like love him or whatnot. I don't think Aegon is those things, but that's how I would do it if I was going to try to go down that route. Agreed, Mats. It looked like Daemon was surrounded by a whole bunch of Hightower troops, plus Ormond and Daron. What's stopping them from just charging and killing Daemon while he's out in the open, Caraxes? I think the idea would be, okay, if they even tried. Like if there was anybody that posed a threat, the link between it would be Caraxes would just kill them. Likely would be how I would look at it, but I don't know. It leaves a lot of questions open to interpretation. Like, I view it as either, the way I look at it is either one, a battle has happened, Daemon won decisively, and they're surrendering, or Daemon comes to them, they see the situation, King's Landing has fallen, Aegon is missing, Aemond is basically off by himself. Maybe this happens after we see some certain battles in the Riverlands. It could be just a situation where the Greens think they're already beaten, and so that's maybe why. But again, I don't think that's a great explanation. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it's done. The Dornish letter with Aegon in Fire and Blood is by far one of the most interesting moments in A Song of Ice and Fire in terms of the history. I really love that moment. I'm personally, it's crazy because I used to be, Aegon was my favorite, Rhaenys was second, and then Visenya was third. Now I'm way more interested to see what they do with Visenya. Because if they give Visenya the Rhaenyra treatment, where like she's perfect and she can do no wrong and all that stuff, I will be like, I'll be really angry. So have we discussed the Daron and Daemon bullshit? Yes, we have discussed it a good amount throughout the stream. If you guys have, again, if you have any other questions, if you want to go away from House of the Dragon, feel free to ask me something. I'm cool to move on from this topic, but, you guys seem like you're very passionate and want to talk about it. I'm really far behind in chat, by the way, so I'm trying my best. Try to answer as many of your guys' comments and chats and all that stuff. Verdict for me, Ashley, though, is just we have to see what happens. I think it doesn't necessarily surprise me, but we'll just have to see. Right now, it's not a good or bad change. You just got to see what happens. I'd want a mini series on old Valyria. It would be really cool to see the changes and loss of dragon lore. Yeah, that'd be a cool one. I think seeing Valyria would be pretty awesome, just because it's a place we've never really been to. We don't know a whole lot about it. There's just so much you could do. Like, yes, you would have to probably try to get some information from George about Valyria, but like, there's just so much you could do with that. Do you think House of the Dragon will be worse than last season? So that's a very interesting question, Joey, because I think House of the Dragon for the general audience will be better in season 3. Because I think season 3, just inherently, the pacing will be a lot better in terms of there's going to be more action, more battles, things people want to see. And I think the tension will be higher. I think that for me, season 3 will be worse than season 2 because my emotional investment in the show is at an all-time low. Like, for House of the Dragon season 2, throughout the first, I would say 4 to, I would almost go up to episode 6, because me and Ricky both had, well, I remember I did at least, I'm pretty sure Ricky did too. We had pretty high marks on episode 6 of season 2. It was just those last 2 episodes. And so House of the Dragon season 2, I look back and yes, I think a lot of things get kind of tarnished because of the way the season ended. But I think my emotional attachment to certain things in season 2 will be higher than in season 3. So I'll view season 2 better. But it's hard. Again, haven't seen it yet. Don't know. But if I was going to give you, I don't know, maybe an idea, I would assume that would probably be it. That I would enjoy season 2 more than season 3 when I see both. It's unrealistic, but George should just close shop with these shows and focus on books. And I mean, that's the thing. I think George was hoping the shows would help cement his legacy, and I think that is backfired based on how Game of Thrones ended. Maybe where House of the Dragon is going. We'll see how Dunk and Egg is. But yeah, I think George should focus on the books. I really do. And it's tough because he came into, all that stuff we talk about, fame, all that, but I don't know. Is Aegon's Conquest being made? Adam, we've almost had no details on the show, but right now it's like in idea/planning phase. We have an idea that a script has been turned in for an Aegon Conquest show, but as of right now, no filming has been done, no announcements have been done on it. We're very much in like, we're going to pitch this is what the show is going to be about type idea. Like, we're not anywhere near pre-production at the moment. I really hope, Matt's, it's not the case. I really hope Rhaenyra as a character, we start to get more of it. We start to actually look at her flaws and look at her as a character and grow, But so far, we haven't really seen that anymore. I'm pretty much at the point where I hope he just puts wins to the side for a minute and pounds out 3 to 4 100 pages of Dunk and Egg. I know I'm the minority there, but damn, I'm worried. Here's the thing. If you're a believer right now that we're never going to get Winds of Winter completed, I believe personally we'll see whatever George has written of Winds of Winter. Money talks. We will see it eventually. But it might not be in its complete form. If you're on that point of it, then yeah. Like, just stop worrying about Winds of Winter. Write Dunk and Egg novellas. They're easier for George to write. Fire and Blood Part 2, easier to write for George. I would rather get more George's writing in A Song of Ice and Fire than none. So I definitely see where you're coming from. Crap, I would expect someone with the nickname Daring to not be this to be able to surrender or seek peace type. If this is not a dream, then he is far from daring. I agree. I agree. Shout out to my mom/dad for giving me a Diet Coke. Also, sorry for the stream freezing. I did see it. I saw that earlier. I mean, I can't really do anything about it. I don't know if it's. I've been having issues with my computer, but I don't know like to what extent. Like I've been doing a project, for my own personal stuff, and it's a very lengthy video, and it's all shot in 4K, of course. And I've been using a lot more, motion graphics, using like After Effects, motion arrays type stuff. And it's definitely had some tough times on my PC. So I don't know if it's PC or internet related. I would always lean towards internet because my internet down in the basement is not directly connected to my internet. It is using an extender. So, we'll see. The Field of Fire was necessary. It and Harrenhal kept the Seven Kingdoms in line for hundreds of years. Oh, of course, the Field of Fire had to happen. And in my opinion, the fact that there's not as many casualties as there could have been shows that Aegon had a restraint. Like, Aegon very much in the Field of Fire specifically, and even if you want to look at Harrenhal as well, went after the leaders. He went after the people that he knew he had to take out. So, for instance, it's not, in my opinion, a coincidence all the gardeners die. That's not a coincidence. So, I don't know. I think that Aegon definitely went about things the right way in a lot of cases. Boy, I'm so far behind in chat. I apologize. I apologize. I don't know how I used to do the House of the Dragon streams like on that Monday after the episode came out and kept up with chat, because I have like half the viewers that I used to have at that point, of course, because it's House of Dragons, peak, time for channels like mine. But it's just crazy. You guys got a lot to say today. But yeah, 100%. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying to paint, like, if I was doing an Aegon and Conquest show, I would show it from, if you want to try to show Aegon in a different light, show him from the people's side of things, right? Like, show how they're maybe losing family members, all this stuff. Even though we know from Aegon's point of view, all of it has to happen. For Aegon to take the Seven Kingdoms, he has to do certain things. People are going to die. It's war. But if you're going to show it from the other light, then just show it from that point of view. Yeah, Matt. I really love talking about the Dornish letter. I think it's one of the most interesting points of Fire and Blood, because it's, did Rhaenys survive? In that letter, is it some sort of idea of the Dornish were threatening Aegon's family? So, for instance, Aenys. What was so either bad or had such an emotional response from Aegon that he goes straight to Dragonstone? It seems to have affected him. Like, he seems completely taken out of this stoic Aegon that we always see. So it had to have been something really impactful. And I've done videos on it. I talked about it. The reason I don't talk about Fire and Blood as much on this channel is just because blatantly people don't want to watch those videos, which is unfortunate. I hope the one thing I would hope the most about the new shows coming out, all this stuff, is that more people get into Fire and Blood, or more get into the Targaryen history, because I'd love to make those videos. But just as of right now, with how time consuming videos are to make, especially as I'm trying to ramp up, I don't know, wouldn't say production, but in terms of like, I want them to be of a higher quality. It's not feasible to make those videos and then they do really bad. So I don't know. That's another thing. I am going to start using more clips from the show, and that's a very lengthy process of actually, because I'm getting basically a bank of all the clips from the entire show, to basically speed up my editing process in the future, because it's much easier to just put in a Game of Thrones clip than manually looking for all these photos and then doing animation. But yeah. Anything goes. Bran will warg into Jon and become king that way. That would be interesting. That would be a horrifying ending to the series. Because not only is Bran already like kind of screwed as a character, he's not even really Bran anymore. He also screws up Jon in the same. That'd be crazy. Do a show about slavers flying around on dragons. I don't think HBO is going to greenlight that. They might not, but it would lead to some very interesting topics. Like it would be a really interesting discussion on terms of like how we view the Targaryens and their descendants and all that stuff, or not their descendants, but all that kind of stuff. It'd be interesting to look at that. I think a lot of deep topics, especially when you talk about a show with slavery in it, it's going to have a lot of deep topics. So I think it'd be cool. House of the Dragon Season 2 Episode 6 was not that great in my opinion. Felt too stretched out, but I'm glad Ricky liked it. Yeah, I think that now that we've had the whole season, Episode 6 definitely did not age well. But I think for me, I remember personally when I was rewatching the show, the way I looked at it was a retooling episode. It was like I would say Episode 5 was more of a filler episode, but Episode 6 was like, we're building up into the next part of the season. And so I thought it handled a lot of plot lines fairly well in terms of dialogue and stuff like that. But yeah, I agree. I think that now that we look at it now, and a lot of those build-up scenes didn't, go anywhere, I agree. Ashley, I will be pissed as well. So PK, I'm probably way ahead of when you typed that, but we're pretty much been talking about a lot about House of the Dragon, Aegon the Conqueror show. I keep going between Conquest and Conqueror. And that, hearing some of the news, PK, there has been, a lot of leaks and spoilers. So, if you don't want that, I stay away. But yeah, also glad that PK, that you got, a job and stuff like that. I hope everything is going well. And it's a pleasure to have you back in here. I saw JC just tagged me, so let me go down here. You should make a Visenya video. Did she poison Aenys to help Maegor out? See, JC, I'd love to do that, but I think okay, so I don't know if I've made a video specifically on just that topic, but like I've made a Visenya character analysis. I've made a Visenya, like, I don't know. I feel like I've made that video before, but it would be a good topic to revisit. I want to point out, JC, it was a Diet Coke break. I did not ask for it, but I appreciated it all the same. It wasn't, let's be fair. It was not intentionally, gotten for me. It was gotten for my mother, but she gave it to me. So shout out to my mom. Is that one Corliss show still being made? No, I don't believe so. I've heard nothing about that since like years ago. I don't think that's, and it doesn't make any sense to make that show either. House of the Dragon has literally cut so much of Corliss's character and his plot line. It just makes no sense. Why would you make a Corliss show if you're not also going to promote the main character of that show? It goes to one of my biggest issues of House of the Dragon is the Velaryon faction, which is like major faction. They are as important, maybe not as important, but they're like right up there with the Hightower faction in terms of importance, and they barely get screen time. The fact that in season 2, all of their scenes were on the same dock, it just like, it's crazy to me. I know it's like, okay, budget and all this other stuff and time, but like, come on. We can get 17 different scenes of Alicent and Rhaenyra together. We can have Alicent camping in a whole different set piece. Come on. I don't know. It's kind of wild to me. Is Night of the Seven Kingdoms still coming out this year? Unfortunately, it's not. It has gotten pushed back. We don't have an exact date. Right now, the speculation is January or in March, somewhere between there. Right now, the show is going through reshoots, which we talked about. I've talked about it a lot in the last couple weeks. Not a great sign, in my opinion. We don't know what they're reshooting, but it is a little bit worrisome. Yeah. Unrelated, what house do you swear fealty to? So, my favorite house is House Targaryen. But if I was going to actually, what house am I going to back? I probably would back the Tyrells. I'm not going to lie. The Tyrells keep you out of war for the most part. You're living in a really good climate. I don't know. I think House Tyrell, I would be okay with, swearing to them. They're going to keep me out of war for the most part. I get to have a nice life, nice cozy life. It would be a good time. And especially in terms of, A Song of Ice and Fire. Greece's soda breaks are killing me. Well, now you guys know. Well, if you don't know, I do have an Instagram page that I've been kind of posting to recently a lot. You know, there's a reason why sometimes I got to burp in between, you know, when I'm recording videos. It's just how it goes sometimes. And what's funny, though, is every time that, like, I burp, usually for recordings, it's not because I have soda. I do not drink soda when I record. I drink water. But it's just, I think for me, I don't use my oxygen well when talking. So I think that, like, it just affects it. So I don't know. That's a whole different conversation. I don't think I use my oxygen that well. And also, you guys will not know the frustration I have during long reread videos. Like, my Davos 2 video coming out tomorrow was over an hour long. Editing that was a nightmare. The amount of times that I stumbled over words or just could not get my thoughts out in a coherent, like, way, it bothered me. I want a 9 Penny Kings miniseries. That'd be fantastic. I don't think we're going to get that for a while, though, if we did. That would be something that would probably come out after Dunk and Egg was done. But that'd be cool. I'm not sure if this was his theory, but Robert on In Deep Geek speculated that the Dornish letter was about Rhaenys' killers being punished and her bones being sent back to Aegon for a proper funeral. Yeah, there's been a lot of theories, and I don't know if he was the person that came up with that, Breton, but there's been so many. Like, there's been the idea that Rhaenys was still alive, that, you know, a threat. It's been so many, and I really think that that's a really good idea. I think it's good theory. In Deep Geek, you know, Robert always has great videos, well-researched, all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm impressed you're able to get, already get the YouTube output you're able to get, Grease. You're a YouTube machine. Well, I appreciate that. I try my best. I will say, like, this video this week on Sunday, we might be freezing a little bit, so bear with me. But it wasn't very edited that much. I was kind of having like a little bit of ear pain, so I kind of made it. And it was a mix of, I was having a little bit of ear pain, and also it was a video that there's just nothing B-roll wise that it fits well. It's a video on Justin Massey and his mission. There's no art of Justin Massey in the community outside of like 1 or 2 images. I literally, the Justin Massey video for the thumbnail, I couldn't find any images that I felt were actually good, so I just said, screw it. I just said, screw it. We're going to put Stannis on the thumbnail. We're going to do something, you know, that's somewhat related. But yeah, so that I will apologize. That video on Sunday, it is more very podcasty style. Very little editing outside of like the first like minute or two. And that's just how it's going to be. I will say the videos in the future, especially when I'm able to use show footage, will really help. I think those videos, but we'll see. After your Lysa video, I remembered something. Wasn't Lysa nearly betrothed to Jaime? What happened there? So yeah, there was a near betrothal between the two, but it didn't actually go up, or didn't actually end up happening. Now, it's weird because it never goes anywhere, and it's never explained. Like, I mentioned this in my Robert's Rebellion series, is there was a chance the Lannisters could have gotten in on the Northern Coalition faction. Also, I am noticing the stream's kind of struggling, but it's okay. It'll be fine. I think it's interesting. You know, maybe was it some idea that, I don't know, Hoster Tully didn't want the Lannisters involved because they were too close to the Targaryens? Is an idea where, you know, Jaime was also possibly going to be married to Elia? There's a lot there that we just don't know. And that's, I don't know. Ashley, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But yes, the stream is lagging. It's kind of struggling. I don't know if it's... How bad is it right now? I think... It doesn't look too bad on my end. I am losing packets, but it doesn't look too bad. I don't know. It is my internet, though. I can tell because my CPU usage is fine. So, sorry about that, guys. My internet's not, you know, it's not doing its thing today, but that's okay. The first time I watched episode 7, I was mesmerized. What are you talking about, PK? I feel out of the loop. Are you talking Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon season 1 or 2? Was that when Cersei got Aerys to ask Jaime to join the Kingsguard? I don't remember exactly the dates and the timings of that, but that would add up. That could make a lot of sense. I just saw Superman and finally a great DC movie, and good to see Millie Alcock is getting a Supergirl movie. Yes, excited to see her in there. I won't lie. Don't really care about Superman. I'm not really that big of a DC person outside of like Batman, but I'm glad the movie's good for a lot of people. I have a friend who's a really big DC person. He was glad it was good, so... Yep. I feel out of the loop. I don't know what episode. Are we talking about episode 7 of House of the Dragon season 2? The one I didn't necessarily like because of the Avengers ending? I'm not sure. Breton, everybody always asks me casting stuff. I don't know enough about celebrities. I don't know enough about actors. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Rhaenys is superior to Visenya. I mean, Rhaenys is a nicer individual. She's a person I think I would be much more likely to be friends with. But in terms of an interesting character to read, Visenya is far better.